Hello and welcome to another episode of IV Games Weekly. I am very excited about today's episode, and not just because the game that we're going to be talking about is about fun drinks, but also just because Dave seems like a really great guy. Before we talk to Dave, the creator of Distilled, I wanted to go back to last week's episode and do our giveaway. So we're going to be taking a look back at Scarface 1920. If you didn't get to watch that episode, that was a really, really fun experience talking to their team about how they made this game all the way from Spain. Obviously, Scarface is set in Chicago, so it was really, really interesting to kind of hear where their love of that style of mob game came from, and just hear about how they made the game and the artwork. So if you're interested in that, go back and take a look at that. For the people that did watch and commented something about the campaign, you will be eligible for a drawing for a Moonrakers Kickstarter exclusive edition that we're going to do right now. The winning comment has to say something about the campaign, probably in a positive light. So we're going to go ahead and pick a winner for that. I like the different crime bosses. They all look so cool. From Yushara K. So I think I messed that name up. Yusahara K. I'm going to say it's probably that way. But you have won our giveaway. Please reach out to me on Discord. It's just Austin at IV Games, I think is what it is. But yeah, you'll find me really quick. My name is in gold up in the top right. That sounded really egotistic that I said my name is in gold, but that's just the color that the team names are. So sorry. All right. Reach out to me, tell me that you won, or if you're not on Discord, you can reach out to us on any social media platform, and we will get you that game. Thank you so much for watching. All right, so back to today. I wanted to introduce Zach, my co-host, and then, of course, hi, Zach.
So great to be here with golden named Austin. That's what he makes us. That's what he makes us call him. It's pretty obnoxious, but
oh my goodness, Dave, save us from this line of thought. Very welcome. Very great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. You can just call me Platinum Dave.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah.
One up in me. Okay, I see how it is. And that's all we have for our show today. But no. Dave, you reached out to me a little bit before Distilled went live, and I got to look into the game, and it just seemed, this is not a rude thing to say to other people, you just seemed like you've been working on this longer and were more prepared than most people I talk to about their games before they launch. So I knew right away that, okay, I'm very interested in talking to you. So first off, how do you feel?
Yeah. So I am tired, elated, heart racing, not sure what to think next. But yeah, just completely excited and really, of course, happy to be here too.
And those are just the feelings about being on the show.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have anything else going on. This is fantastic. Finally, I get to talk to you guys.
Distilled. It looks amazing. It's on Kickstarter right now. If you don't know, go there. Please back it. You don't even need to know anything else. It looks awesome. Now we're going to talk all about it.
That's basically what I said on IV Backed. I was just like, this looks awesome. You should go bag it. But yeah, $170,000, 20 days to go. So, I mean, long way to go still. But we have a few people that wanted to chime in on that. So Solid Gold IV team members. And then Thomas has said, hi, Plat Dave. So I don't know if he quite used the platinum, but Plat Dave should definitely be here. Plat, just stick with Plat. Should be
Plat, baby. Yeah.
We have a thing in our Discord that when we're playing games and someone might be enjoying some of the drinks that you have created here in Distilled, they tend to call it their thinky juice. And so Human says, thinking of Distilled, time to go get some thinky juice. Oh, goodness.
And Dark Fox is having a beer. I should have. That sounds great. What am I doing?
I know, me too. I ran around. I don't even have it.
Hey, at 3:30 on a Friday, it happens, you know.
Yeah.
But oh goodness. All right, so Dave, how the heck did you get into making games?
Yeah. So kind of crazy process really for me. Without going too far back, my background actually is studio art, like fine art, sculpture.
Oh, wow.
And went to school and did that. Went to grad school, did that. But then when I was in grad school, I discovered how I had an affinity for just computers and technology while others didn't. So I started doing things with 3D modeling and 3D printing and animation, and I could create worlds using software. So I fell down that rabbit hole and realized that opened up the door to what I love, which is playing video games. And I could start to make or help make video games or have that be a part of it. So that's how I then found myself teaching video game design at universities. And one thing led to another. I've been making video games now for my own for, I don't know, 5-10 years. And then within the last couple of years, as you can see behind me, like I'm a big fan of board games. And I wasn't expecting it, but it was just something that dawned on me one day to make a game. And I've been just deep my head under for the last 2 years doing that. So kind of weird, but kind of artist by way of technology, by way of basically my passions. Figuring out, well, I love to do this. Why don't I take my skill set and combine the two and make something?
No, that's a familiar story. I mean, that's like that's how I've gotten here as well, with maybe one step prior to that of going to animation first and then to game dev and then to releasing a digital game that made no money, and then like, well, maybe we'll try tabletop, and then that's worked out. So so it's I'm right there with you. But still, making video games is still so fun. Do you still do that? Do you have a lot of like indie projects rolling in the background right now?
A little bit. I mean, the funny thing is, I'm the type, for me as a creative, that I just focus on one thing, and it just like, and I can't split things up as much. So I wouldn't be surprised if like one of the next projects is I go back to that. But right now, basically for the last almost 2 years, it's just been nonstop Distilled for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you used then any game, like, I don't know if you're like a Unity guy or Unreal, or like what's your
Unity?
flavor?
Yep, I'm a Unity dude. Yep.
Did you use any like digital prototyping, like from your game dev side, to like help you develop this game at all?
Yes, I actually did. I mean, because Tabletop Simulator is just so 3D heavy, right when the pandemic hit, I had a choice to take my prototype online to Tabletopia or TTS. And I looked at the two and played around with the two, and I thought, oh, this is easy. Tabletop Simulator is a Unity. It's all done in Unity, and it's a 3D environment. So I'm going to do that. And then I ended up modeling a couple assets for it, not many, because I found I could pretty much do everything I needed to within TTS on its own. But yeah, totally. Like some of the initial things, as well as even some of the things I ended up, we didn't end up using it, but I was going to render out all the coins in the game, the metal coins that we're offering. And I probably still will. Because that's the fun thing is I keep thinking when we do get to the point where I need to take the metal coins, I've been joking with my artist about this. And I said, I can just bring them into ZBrush. So I use this program called ZBrush where, you paint and you're basically pushing and pulling on digital clay. And I was like, I'll just sculpt these coins myself. This is great.
Your studio art skills will definitely come in handy.
Yeah, exactly. So
we have a few people thanking you for using TTS. Actually, just one and me, because I cannot stand Tabletopia. I probably shouldn't say that as a developer.
Here's the deal. No, I completely agree. So I've been joking with another game dev friend of mine about this because he's I'm not going to say his name. He's hardcore into Tabletopia and he hates TTS. And I said, it's basically Mac versus PC. Like Tabletopia is Mac, and you can't really, everything's curated and it's supposed to be that way, but you can't do anything. But with TTS, it's
when I win, I want to flip a table.
Right? Exactly.
Or lose.
I want to write on the darn table, and I want to throw things off of it.
Oh goodness, that's hilarious. No, we don't have time to talk about it today, but when you come down to Nashville, or if we hang in a con in the future, you have to talk to Zach about the hand simulation system he made in Unity for Moonrakers.
Oh yeah. There's a YouTube video on it. If you can go find it, it's like buried in our YouTube videos. But there's like so many like card combinations in Moonrakers, like built a hand simulator that could simulate, like 10,000 hands in, just a couple minutes, and then like just inject like one small change to it to see like how much does this influence like the output of your hand, and it helped us like balance the game.
Nice.
Totally over-engineered and unnecessary.
Of course, anytime you're in Unity, you're just diving. I love
that. It actually really helped us though, because we were considering going to a 12 or 15 card base deck, and we went back to 10 after we ran a bunch of hands. All right, this is not a show about Moonrakers.
I love it. I love it.
Backpedal. All right, so a friend of yours, I'm assuming, named Pip, said, Dave, what was your favorite board game in college? And why was it Access It Out?
He is going down. He is going to burn. So it's funny. Actually, a little bit more history here. I I grew up playing games like many of us did, just, games that we all know from our childhood. But then I kind of stopped. I didn't really play many board games all through college at all, even through grad school. And it was when my wife got me Dominion probably 8 years ago that I was like, what? There's this world around like designer board games. So actually, I did, so just as some background there, but yes, Pip is calling out something that is a inside joke between my roommate and I, who I don't know where he is anymore, and I don't want to drag him through the mud necessarily, but let's just say there was Axis and Allies was a code word for something else. So we'll just stop there.
Okay. All right, we'll end there. Agri said giveaway winner gets a free pledge for Distilled. You got this. No, it is a Moonrakers Kickstarter exclusive edition. Just to be clear, we are not giving away Dave's stuff without.
That would be great though. We invite guests on the show and then we force them to give things away for free.
That's good. I love it.
That's
just at the end. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just good. Dave, you said you're giving away everything, right? Your whole company.
Yeah, like anyone that signs up. That's right.
Oh goodness.
All right. So I gotta know about the theme and where the theme came from. So let's talk about that, because I feel like 90% of games are just like these like massive, like it's a war game or like it's like this huge like world building thing. But I love this like stream of games that has come up. Like I was trying to look over to what I had of just like Wingspan and Viticulture, like food chain, that kind of like dive in on some like a little bit more of like a narrow subject matter that feels like a little bit more niche, but I think you can get so specific with it. I don't know if there's a word for that, almost like a micro theme or like a very like focused theme. And I think that's so cool. So I'd just love to hear more about where that came from and how you got here.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, you're right though with that whole micro theme, or I've actually had to say highly thematic or heavily thematic, because you're right. Like there's nothing I can find that really labels that as theme heavy. So for Distilled, so for those that don't know, Distilled is all about spirits, crafting spirits in a distillery, different types of spirits, whiskey, gin, vodka. And for Distilled, the theme actually came to me again, connected back to my university and my own research. I was actually in fall of 2019. I had the amazing opportunity to be on a sabbatical from my university, which basically means I can conduct research on whatever I'd like, however and wherever I'd like. I'm not teaching. I'm just doing that for about a semester. It's a huge, amazing thing that every so often a professor will get to do that. So I found myself in Scotland. I had proposed to go over to Scotland. Actually, Zach, you'll appreciate this. I was going to be doing AR and VR, so augmented reality and virtual reality research on historical Scottish landmarks to recreate them so that you would be standing there and see what it used to look like. Cool. Right? Yeah, so I was so excited, diving into Unity, everything else. So I was doing that. I was touring some whiskey distilleries, maybe. I was having a couple drams of whiskey, maybe. And one night, probably after a dram or two, I couldn't sleep, and it hit me like out of nowhere, true light bulb moment. Oh my gosh, I think I have an idea for the core mechanic of a board game that's going to represent distilling alcohol. And basically what that means is that when you distill alcohol, like a whiskey or anything, you boil it up, and then, I love this. You're bringing it along. Awesome. You boil it up, and as it evaporates and comes off the still as a liquid, the first part that comes off actually is toxic. It will blind you. That's why they say like moonshine will blind you. Well, that's because it was poorly done. The first part is you have to make a cut so you don't use that. You take it out. And then the middle is called the heart. And then the end is also not toxic, but bad. It's not good either. So distillers make a head and a tail cut. And so what I decided to do was I wanted something where you have a batch, you mix it up like it's in the still, kind of boiling and bubbling. And then I tell players to take the top card after they've shuffled, take the top card and the bottom card to represent the head and the tail. And you pull them off and you put them back in your pantry, because distillers use that in future distillations. Again, thematic through and through. So that was like my main core. And I realized, okay, this is really exciting. I think this could be a great theme mechanic connection. So the next day, all night I was writing down notes. The next day, I woke up and started doing a little research and found that there's no games out there about distilling alcohol. Wow. There's lots of games, strategy games, like there's trivia and drinking games.
Yeah.
There's a ton of beer and wine games, but there's nothing about distilling alcohol. And that's when I knew, like, I need to do this. I need to do this hardcore. And then I just kept finding other ways within the industry to connect theme and mechanics whenever I could. So
there was a game that was last year or 2 years ago. I think it was close to Moonrakers, and it was called Moonshine Kingdom, but it was about running your own distillery and like interfacing with other groups that were running there. It was like a strategy game, like it was like totally different, not about distilling whiskey.
No, I know those guys. Moonshine Empire, I think it was called.
And
they're great. I've talked to them a couple times. They're fantastic. And it's like you're in the
closest thing in my head,
you're in the swamps. You're trying to make your moonshine, avoid the gators, get them. Exactly. So it's like a different type of game. Totally. But again, you're right, in that same realm of spirits for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In those like early moments, like what do you think? I feel like a lot of times, like, creativity is just like connecting dots of like previous things that you've made or you've experienced or you've played. Like in those early moments, do you remember like any of those, like, were there any dots that you were kind of connecting? Like, oh, maybe take a little bit of this from, this game over here and this experience I had over here.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Good question. So Distilled started as a deck builder, straight up deck builder. I've always enjoyed deck builders, and I thought that the thing I wanted to make sure to do was Jamie Stegmaier is, as for many of us, is someone that I really look to and respect as a designer, as a publisher. And I knew that Viticulture is a fantastic game. And I also knew that Brewcrafters is a really fun game too, which is kind of in beer making. And so I knew that both of those were worker placement, as many industry simulation games are. And I thought, I need to find something that's a little different. I want to do something like with cards, and so it kind of diverts into a different realm, still with that kind of same kind of theme. So I knew I wanted to have that. So I started looking at certain deck builders that I admired, like Thunderstone Quest, Dominion, Valley of the Kings is a really fantastic one as well, where I started to try and pick certain elements out of those that I thought were unique. But then since I wanted to push your luck or mitigate your luck mechanic like that, the head and tail, like I just talked about, because when you pull those out, they're not part of your recipe anymore. So you could be going from making a whiskey to a moonshine, depending on if you're trying to cut it too close. So I looked at games like Quacks of Quedlinburg, that I wanted to kind of create that sense of like surprise, when you're playing and pulling those cards. So I most definitely did that. That's a good question, Zach. Taking lots of different games and trying to kind of pair them together to basically try and create something new and somewhat unique, or at least feel like that.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, that's basically what we did with Moonrakers, right? It's like take the deck builder, like that rich history of like tons of there's so many takes on that, and then just combine it with something else. Like we combine it with negotiation, and like you combine it with a push your luck element and like a really cool theme. And I love that. And I wrote down Valley of Kings because I have not Valley of the Kings because I've not played that. And it's really good. We're in like expansion mode right now for Moonrakers, and so I'm just like trying to get my hands on all any reference points I can for like really cool deck builder things. So I'm gonna go buy that after we're done.
It's a good one because it also does a little deck deconstruction and thinning too throughout the game too. So it's a good one. It's totally fun, and of course you can play it on TTS.
Nice.
I can't remember what this is called, and so the chat's gonna have to help me out. But there's a game that I think you would really like, Dave. That is a reverse. It's like a deck unbuilder, and it's actually like a sculpting theme. So I feel like your visual art.
Yeah, I saw that like a year or two ago.
Yeah, it was like a piece of marble, and you have all these cards in your hand, and like you're getting rid of cards, and it's like you chipping away the marble.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so I really thought that was unique and cool. So I'm really sad I can't remember the name of the game for you, but
I can totally picture it. I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, a couple of questions from the chat here. Dark Fox wants to know if it was mechanic first or theme first for you.
Theme first, 100%. Theme. So I am, and I think it's connected to my art background. Also, I'm a big history buff as well. So me being able to research the spirits industry and the whiskey industry and figure out how I can represent certain tools or processes or whatever or traditions. That's really how much of the game came around. And I think, if people do look, whether it's Kickstarter or somewhere else, look at it, I think they'll see that I've tried to visually represent that whenever I can through it. But that's a really good question. Definitely theme first for sure.
Well, and piggybacking on that, we've we've run into this a little bit on the game that we're in development on now, Mythic Mischief. Just a little product placement. Like you very often like get into these moments in testing, right, where it's like you've got a problem in your gameplay, and the fix, it might be right there in front of you, but it's not thematic. It's like and you kind of really have to like shoehorn your theme to like kind of cover up this like little quick fix. Like, did you run into any of those issues when designing this game? And if so, how did you what was your solve? Like, how did you power through that kind of
totally
block?
Yeah, actually, I get kind of like what you're saying. I did almost the opposite. I had so much theme dumped onto this thing, that it was, and I like to compare it almost as like a spectrum between theme and mechanics. And I was so heavy on the theme side that people either weren't having fun or it was too complicated. So 2 quick examples. One, so in Distilled, you make spirits from around the world. So not just whiskey, but things like baijiu from China or cachaça from Brazil. And each of those, of course, are made a certain way. Baijiu is made with a plant called sorghum. Cachaça is made with sugarcane juice. And so in my original game, I had a giant spreadsheet that was like on the table for the prototype. It was like, okay, in order to make baijiu, you need to have 2 sorghum cards in there. And I, because of that, I got caught up on that idea of it being so specific, but I needed to kind of gamify that more and just say, no, any grain will do for baijiu. It doesn't have to be sorghum.
Right.
Sorghum is in the grain category. And if you have it in there, great. But any grain will do. So that was one that I had to kind of pare back, and it's more gamified in that sense, but thus more fun. And then the other one that I always like to talk about is one that I'm sad that I had to pull out. So in Distilled, you age your spirits, and you put them, the ones that you want to. You put them in a barrel, you send it into the warehouse, you add some flavor to it as well. Every round it's in there, you add a flavor card. You don't necessarily know what it is, but you add some flavor. So those flavor cards equate to more and more of those equate to more and more points when you end up actually selling it. And it's fun to read the flavors out loud. Well, in the actual distilling and whiskey world, when you age something over the course of many years, lots of the alcohol actually evaporates into the environment. So you might start with a full barrel of whiskey, but if you have that age for, let's say, 12 years in real life, the amount of liquid in there is going to drop significantly. So they call that, when they lose that, they call that the angel share. So it goes up to the heavens, right? And I did that in the original game too, where I actually forced players, once they were aging something, they'd add cards, they'd add their flavors, but at the end, right before they sold, they had to fan their cards out and have someone pull cards out that they lost.
Oh no!
And it was like no, like, you know, it's that one of those things where it's like, okay, this is great, it's so thematic, but no, bad choice. Not cool.
It was funny, before you started talking about that, Bubba said, speaking of which, I missed the angel share, but totally understand why you removed it. So no one had mentioned angel share when he said that, so that's fun.
He's an original fan.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. Was there so the first prototype that you made of this game, like the first time it was playable, what was that experience like? Like, was it fun? Like, was it like, oh, we got a hit, or was it like, oh, I'm giving up, this is a terrible idea?
So actually it was really fun. It was
great.
Nuts. It was because it was in Scotland. I was in this and actually, I don't know, Austin, you can scroll down maybe and show it. I actually happened to be living in a palace for my sabbatical. So this is at the bottom in the kind of the thank you section. And I was living in the Dalkeith Palace in Scotland. We had been the university actually rented it from them for years. So it didn't look like a palace on the inside. It looked like Wisconsin dorm room on the inside. But nice. But anyway, so I was living there. I was making the game there. Actually, in the bottom, right where your mouse is, that was my office actually, where I was making the game. Anyway, so I printed everything out on paper, and the first day after I had written it all night, I printed everything out and I played myself four hands, right? So 4 chairs, 4 setups, and I played it. And I was at the end of it, it was this weird moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really fun and it works. It didn't break. Like, I had done it all. So it was, I hate to say it, I'm sorry. It was probably not the answer you were looking for.
No, that's great.
Dramatic, but it was nuts. But
I'll hate you now.
Yeah, I'll just go cry after this about my first prototypes and how terrible they are.
Also, honestly, it's like me being a game design professor, I knew like all the things I needed to do ahead of time. I've designed so many games or scratch games, if you will, before that. I think this was able to allow me to kind of fast forward a little bit too, maybe.
Well, that you want to go, Austin?
No, I was just going to talk more about how I hated him.
Oh no. We'll save that for later when we're not live. I'm curious then, like how, like what is the overlap for you between like digital and video game design and then tabletop design, and what are some of the things that are kind of differences from them that are maybe surprised you or were challenging that you weren't expecting going from the video game space to tabletop space?
Yeah. I think at first, the fact that I was able to, I wanted to be able to have other people play it right from the beginning, and I needed to print things out almost daily that were new.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have access to as much where I could just like marker things up or whatnot. I was really literally printing everything out. So I think that iteration process, that it wasn't as digital, was both freeing in the sense that I could write over stuff and change things very quickly, but also debilitating because it probably slowed down my development a little bit. Yeah. And I noticed that right away when the pandemic hit, that I went back to how I was used to things with video games where it's all digital and I can quickly iterate. So I think that's one thing. And I guess the other quick thing I'd say is the last major project I worked on was called a game called Tombeau. And it was a video game that I created. And it was basically, think of it as like an art video game where or people that are familiar with video games, it's a walking sim. But it's meant to kind of educate you about history and environment and cultures, but very much an art video game. And why I bring that up is that I chose to do that basically myself. I did work with one other person that helped a little bit with some of the coding because I'm more on the art side, but everything in the game visually is all me. So it took me a long time. But I was kind of stubborn in my old art ways, saying, "Oh, I'm an artist. I need to do this myself." And so once I got to Distilled, I realized I need to throw that out the window, and I need to gather a team. So in addition to Eric, who's the artist I'm working with, I've tried to bring on a whole slew of people to help along in this journey, just because I've realized that at least it's probably in video games and in board games, but it's easier for me to see in something like Distilled, where I'm just an expert in certain areas and I need other people to bring their talents to the table as well.
Yeah. Definitely. I feel like there's this like this almost like glorified culture, especially within like indie game dev spaces, of just like, the Fezes or like the like the people who like they literally do it all, like except for maybe like music. It's just like this is like an auteur like a type experience. And it's just and it's tempting to like fall into that, it's tempting to just be like, like I can do graphic design. Like I can do illustration. I can do all this stuff. And it's just like nothing about this. No. Yeah, no,
Bouncy Smash was not.
No, it was disaster. No, it was great. It was a great learning experience. But truly, I mean, like it is all like like I don't know how to make a logo. Like, sure, I could make a logo, but it's like I don't know how to like design a brand. Like,
you and I are the same. That's right.
and it's just like there are people who are just that's all they do. That's all they think about is that kind of thing. And it's so fun to bring those people together, and they'd make it. The game is better because of it, and it's also so much more fun, in my opinion.
Totally.
So that's really cool.
Quick interjection: the game was chiseled. A deck sculpting game. Reveal the art within your deck. So
I like it.
Very, very interesting.
Nice.
I definitely need to pick that up. I think I'd like it a lot.
That sounds good.
All right. So most games, and this is going back to the intro where I said you just seemed more prepared than most other first-time creators I talked to. At the very top of your page, you have a finalist for the Cardboard Edison Award and a finalist for an Ion Award. I just feel like I've never seen like a first-time creator come to the table with finalists and awards and stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Most of the times, like it's an expansion will be like our first game, like the base game had some awards with it, but like even huge publishers are just pumping these out pretty quickly. That like waiting for an award sequence is really hard. So, how long have you worked on it? When did these finalist awards happen? Can you tell us more just about the process of getting it?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been working on Distilled pretty much nonstop since fall 2019. So we're looking at like a year and a half now, I think. But people that know me know that and anyone watching knows this, that knows me. I don't know. I'm like probably one of the most intense people will meet as far as dedication to a project, right?
Okay,
so I will live and breathe it. My family, my kids, my wife doesn't really know me anymore. And I say that kind of funny, but kind of sadly. I just get so focused on a project. And so I spend every waking moment when I'm not working at my other job on it. So that's why I would say that I scrunched a 3-year project into a 1.5 years, honestly. So regarding the awards, the competition. So yeah, I decided to start looking at some, essentially these 2 competitions specifically are ones for people that are not published or games that have not come to Kickstarter yet or have not been picked up by a publisher either way. And so I thought, I'm going to submit these. And in both of these cases, actually, sorry, in the Ion Award, it was all digital. So I submitted my TTS mod. My TTS mod is fantastic because, again, talking about leaning on other people's expertise. Seth Barrier is also part of my team, and he's an amazing coder, also works at our university. So he helped me make that a little bit more streamlined. But submitted that and was played by a number of different publishers. And I was very lucky to be a finalist in that. Again, it's one of those things where I submitted, in both cases, you first submit a video that's basically a pitch that shows the game, you playing it, but then also talks about it a little bit. And then when it gets to that next stage, they're playing it and giving some feedback. And then the final stage is you're kind of talking with the judges. Or in the case of Cardboard Edison, I actually shipped them a prototype. And they, I think from what I can tell, shipped it around the country to different people. And then they played it with their group and then filled out comments and ratings. But it's interesting. Yeah, but it's interesting because like these games are, of course, supposed to be prototypes. Yet, and so some things are funky. Maybe the rules are as best as you can write them at that point. But we all know that until we visually lay that out in a really nice way, sometimes those rules are hard to understand. And I could tell that some of the judges misunderstood my rules, and I wish I could have just like clarified, and then that would have been totally. While others didn't, so it wasn't like it was necessarily their fault, my fault. Who knows? But yeah, it's a good experience. I highly encourage anyone in that pre-publisher world, any indies, to at least, I mean, it'll take you a day or two to really get that good video and everything else done, but then you just send it out there and see what happens. It's totally worth it. And then you get a bunch of feedback as well and meet people. I guess that's the last thing I'll say is that the people I've met when I've been being lucky enough to be a finalist, I've known the other finalists and I've reached out to them or they've reached out to me. And I've developed a pretty good relationship with some of those other designers, which is really cool, right? Like, and we're going through Kickstarters at roughly the same time, like maybe before or after. So we're giving each other feedback and advice there too. So it's a good networking tool too.
Nice. So one of our Discord mods, Human Affectation, said that he got to experience it at the Con of the North last year. And so
nice.
He's excited to see the changes, but he also had a couple other comments. One was he wants to know about the different bottles and whether you've actually seen all of them in real life. Now, I haven't played the game, so I have no idea what he's talking about. Can you expound upon that?
Yeah. So this is funny. They definitely then got a chance to sample the Angel Share because I had that at Con of the North, like pulling the cards out. So they know that. That was when it was still a deck builder. Anyway, the bottles. So there's a bunch of different bottles in the game. The bottles really are luxury items. So when you distill your spirit, you toss a bunch of ingredients into your what I call a washback with giant wooden tub. You do the distillation. You take the top and the bottom card. Then you have a choice to either you're putting it in a barrel and you're either going to age it and then it just sits in your warehouse for another round. So you're not getting money, or you sell it because it's like vodka or gin and you get that money right away. Either way, when you do go to sell it, you're going to put it in a bottle. Now the game you all start with a basic bottle, just nothing. It's just it's kind of like starting with your deck with your basic stuff. But then there's also bottles you can buy from the store. And those bottles are the bottles from around the world. That Eric, again, my artist, ended up illustrating these gorgeous bottle designs. I've seen probably 2/3 of those bottles. Some of them Eric's made up, but a lot of them are pictures either I've taken when I'm at the liquor store, but then also sometimes I'll find it online as well. So it's a mixture. None of them should technically be very specific, but you definitely, as far as branded, because we're avoiding that, of course. But I think you'll probably see a couple bottles in there that's like, I think I know what kind of bottle that is.
Nice. That's great.
So
you mentioned like publishers playing your game. Had you ever thought of, pitching to publishers? Like, is that ever an idea in your mind? Like, and if so, at what point did you decide, like, let's go Kickstarter?
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was within a day or two of coming up with the game. I actually messaged Derek because he's also works at the university. So actually 4 people at my university are working on this game or helping me with it.
Nice.
So you might as well, right? Gather those around you. So Eric's a designer, an illustrator, and teaches at our university. I messaged him a couple days in, and I was like, I think I might have something here. Would you want to work on this game with me and be the artist? And he's like, sure, I got nothing else better to do. It's cool. Sounds good. And he actually knew he had a sabbatical coming up the next year too, luckily somehow. But again, he had no idea what he was getting into. He thought it was just going to be like, oh, Dave's making like a 48 card deck builder that you can put in the back pocket. So it's now like over 400 cards, and he's illustrated all of them. And
wow.
But yeah, so to get to your question, once he said yes, I kind of realized, okay, if we're going all in with art, it's not worth it for us to really pitch it to a publisher because there's a chance they're just going to toss that art out. Like, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to go with something else. So we decided not to. I did take it to Jamie's Stonemeyer Games Day, which I think some people do, I think, try and pitch there. And even those competitions, a lot of people are in there because they're hoping they're going to get picked up by a publisher. Mm-hmm. But in all those cases, it was more just for feedback than hoping to get picked up by the publisher. So Kickstarter's kind of always been a thought.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
You going to any cons this year?
I'm not yet. I'm going to probably wait it out just a little bit more because of the fact that Distilled will just be done. I think I'm going to hit everything hard next year. Just because then I'll have a much closer to finished prototype. Like the game will be pretty much what it looks like. Our shipment date's pretty far out, just to be safe. But I'll obviously have a pretty darn close looking game by that point that I can start attending them next year.
Totally. So. It was probably wise just knowing all the stuff that's going on in the industry right now between production delays and shipping delays. It's probably a good idea to put your date back a little bit. For sure. That's awesome. I look forward to meeting you at a con sometime because
this will be fun.
I am not a big drinker. I go to Zach's house and he pours me a thing of whiskey and I'm like, this tastes good, this tastes bad. Like that's like as close as I get to appreciating the finer whiskeys in life. But we can play this game and you can teach me a little bit.
Fantastic. Yep, totally.
A random thing from your Kickstarter page. So, and I talked about this a lot on Ivy Backed. And it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but you have a screen reader friendly version, text only found here. What made you want to do that?
Yeah, good question. I appreciate you calling that out. I was glad you did when I watched that. So what I did was I'm a part of I'm part of a bunch of different Facebook groups, but 2 of them, one's a Kickstarter, tabletop Kickstarter advice group. I can't remember exactly the name, but it's got about 8,000 members, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And then I'm part of the Board Game Design Lab, which is mostly designers. And I posted the pre-launch site to those 2 about a week ahead just to ask feedback. And one individual, so I don't want to take credit for this. It was someone else, and I wish I could remember who it was now because it was great. They suggested, you should really think about this. We do this for our campaigns, and it's a nice way to be more accessible. And so I thought, okay, I guess I'll do this. My gosh, it's going to take a little bit of work, but I think it's worth it. Basically just taking everything in the visual, as we all know, Kickstarter is just a mess of images. That's the only way we get around it. And so putting it all in a Google Doc. Now, here's the other thing I realized after the fact. In addition to people that might not be able to see or read the screen as easily with images, and so that reads it for them with a screen reader, I realized, oh my gosh, I just provided auto translation for any language.
Nice.
Like that's now great. And that's what's actually happened. I'm working with someone that's helping us connect with a couple different licensees from other countries, and they've asked for the content, and I'm like, here it is. You can translate it, which is obviously that's what they are doing anyway. So That's actually worked out really well too. I almost feel like it's something that, like you even said, Austin, like it's something that people should start doing, but almost like Kickstarter should say, you should, this should be a recommendation, like a box to check,
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I wanted to do it for Veiled Fate, and we were asked about it at the very beginning, and I said I will try to do that. And it, as you know, after the Kickstarter launches, it's usually too late to do things like this. And so it's just like top of mind for me to do for our next campaign. And seeing it on there was this is just a really well executed version of it. And it's just plain text. Like that's all it can be. You can't add anything else. It won't work. And so I love that you did this. And just, I have to take a parting shot at Kickstarter. It's more navigatable than Kickstarter is because there's clickable links over here.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I was like originally so excited about GameFound. We're like, oh, are they gonna let us like do like CSS or like it just like some kind of light, like let me actually put text on the page or maybe like a custom font and like it'd be brilliant. It'd be way more accessible. I could like theme my page. I don't have these like super low res images. Sorry, I could go on.
I hear you, man. I hear it. 680 wide. Are you kidding me?
Like, what is this? What is this? What is this? 1999? Come on.
I completely forgot about all those complaints in my episode of Ivy Back on. I talked about GameFound and just how it could be so much better than Kickstarter, and it's just marginally better on some features. And it's like custom text that alone would make like wild effect.
That we could theme it to our game and like not be just a wall of PNGs.
Gosh.
But
there was something else I was going to say about that too. That it'll probably come back to me. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Sean said, "Nice job at Kickstarter, Austin. Voice of the people."
But of course, I get it. Adding new features to software is very difficult and challenging, and I'm sure very good people at Kickstarter. So
yes.
Like
thank you, Kickstarter.
Thank you.
I will thank you with the percentage I give you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I know what I was going to say, and just a tip for other designers out there that are thinking about Kickstarter. Actually, what I did was when I realized, I need to do this. That's actually my original outline for my page was just a giant Google Doc. So I went back to that and I just edited that and revised it. So you can kind of start with that from the beginning and hopefully it won't be, too much work near the end then.
I always start with the Google Doc and then I have 1,800 pictures in there of like reference from past campaigns. Other people I'm like, this is not working. I have to switch to a paper, like a Dropbox paper doc, because it just correlates it so much better. So,
I know.
Zach, you have your every episode questions to get through. We can take a few more questions from the audience. I want to add a couple of every episode questions today, just for Dave. It's probably not an every episode question.
Just Dave, quick questions to close us out.
Dave, anything that you're really excited about that we didn't get a chance to talk about from your campaign? I know that's kind of an on the spot question, but
no, it's good. I don't think so. I mean, I guess got to say that I had heard so much from people warnings about, watch out when you do your Kickstarter. There's going to be all these people complaining and all these people, saying they want this and they want that. And people reaching out to you for money, to offer their services, whatever, marketing. I got to say, I haven't seen that much. And maybe it's like, I would encourage people when they're doing this. So this is, I don't know if this is a bad answer to your question, Austin, but really, I've been so overwhelmed and in a good way and thrilled by the community and how positive they've been and supportive. And even when someone is maybe a little bit down in the comments or whatnot, I or someone else can respond and kind of keep things optimistic and positive. So I got to say that maybe that was something of the past, or maybe it's how you create a campaign to create that positivity. So I just got to say I'm running on a lot of that adrenaline, I think, from the backers and the community.
So that's awesome. Very nice thing to add. 98.7% of our backers have been the exact same. But I do hate you a little bit more, just that you haven't had to deal with a few backers. You might get them.
Well, it's all VAT. It's anyone talking about VAT.
Oh, that's hard. Yeah. We got accused of running the Moonrakers campaign before, which we didn't do. We had only run it once, and spending all of the money on drugs and and other things that I don't necessarily want to get into in our show. And so it was just like that happened, and we were like, Like,
Oh my
do we
gosh.
just didn't? We have to deny it, but we just like that's not true because that doesn't look like we're just trying to sweep it under the
nothing
rug.
to see here. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to see here. That's not true. And luckily, people were like, I mean, you can Google it. It's not been run again. Like, we had our other backers come to our support to like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's weird. Did they ever come up with why they came up with that? Like,
No.
what?
No. It was also fun because we had the comment, I think on every, I was running our social media, on every Facebook post and every ad, someone said, get sued by Bond, sued spelled SU3D every time. And they just like looked for our stuff, and we're like, we have the trademark for this. It's not something we're even considering getting sued about.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't have to talk about negative stuff. I'm very happy you had a positive.
Thank you.
campaign.
And I think it's probably like the larger that you grow and get, and that you attract more of that attention. So I should be knocking on wood and everything here. Hopefully that doesn't happen as we move forward. But so far it's been pretty amazing.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
awesome.
This will equal or pass Moonrakers in my opinion. This is like 170K with 20 days to go. That's awesome. You're doing wonderful.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
You are definitely not smaller than we were on our first campaign by any means. So yeah, congratulations. It's looking really fantastic. You did a really, really good job on featuring quotes and a really good job in getting external verification. Jesse from Quackalope, and this isn't even a question, I just want to talk about it. Mechanically, it's incredible, and thematically, it's incredible. I love Jesse. I trust his opinion. So I saw that, and I was like, well, I can be very excited about this game. And of course, I think if I remember correctly, Jesse likes a good thing of whiskey. So
he does.
I think that might be influencing him a little bit, and who knows how much whiskey he had while he was playing the game. But I think that is wonderful. Just having quotes like that is so key for a campaign. And so I'm really pumped for you, and I'm really excited for you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Cool. Zach, you want to do some every episode questions?
Yeah, let's close it out. Starting off with a difficult one: bourbon or scotch?
Scotch.
Nice. Meeples or minis?
I'm gonna go with I am, because I'm not attracted to the minis. Like, I'll pay more, but I love a good mini. I've got, let's see which way. I've got Blood Rage over there. I've got Rising Sun. So I'll say minis. I'll say
all right.
Good answer. Good answer.
All right. Euro or Ameritrash?
I'm not kidding. It's like 50-50 for me.
Really?
It really is, which is actually not to plug Distilled, but I tried really hard to, because Euro games usually don't have much theme, right?
Yep,
or they have it slapped on. While Ameritrash, it like drips with the theme. But Distilled does not have any take that or a lot of conflict, so it's more Euro-y that way. So I gotta say, if you let me, I'd like to say like in the middle. What'd that be? In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, something like
some island somewhere,
some boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Zach, you got a tambourine going on?
I know. We got like some theme music.
Out.
The house band is. It's like we got to wrap this up. All right. Resource management or worker placement?
Worker placement.
Nice.
Even though my game is resource management, I love worker placement.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. I know you got more, but I'm interjecting from the audience.
Yeah.
Drink of choice from Dark Fox.
My drink of choice is a single malt Scotch whiskey by the name of Lafroig. And Lafroig is from Islay, and it's really peated. So it basically, the way I like to say it is, it tastes kind of like there's a campfire in your mouth. It's like
nice.
Or dirt. You're like chewing on it. Doesn't that sound delicious?
It sounds so good.
I'm a big Ron Swanson fan, and so of course he likes Lagavulin. Yes, and I had the chance to try Lagavulin, and I was like, "Wow, Ron Swanson would hate me because this does not taste good."
But doesn't it seem like it's perfect for Ron Swanson's? Like, oh my gosh, that's powerful.
All right, another one from the audience. Will Cavados be a drink in the game? And I hope I said that correctly.
Yeah. So right now it is not Sebastian. We've got we do have a brandy. So Calvados is a type of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sebastian, I think it's an apple type brandy, if I remember right. It might be that it would show up in the future because we're continuing to add more and more spirits to the game where you get to choose what you make.
Okay.
So it could happen. Apples are definitely something you can buy from the market in the game, so it's all there. We also have another one that's not from the same continent, but cachaça is another one that's not necessarily a brandy, but is from sugarcane juice. So a couple different unique, interesting ones there too.
Very cool.
Dave from the audience wants to know what it's like to have such a great name and have everyone be jealous of you.
Oh, I know.
I'm going to skip that. You don't have to answer that one.
Good one, Dave. Nice work.
All right, Zach, take over.
All right. What game did you get to the table most recently?
Oh, I know, because I'm playing with a group of friends. Finally got back to the physical table again. We're doing Clank Acquisitions Incorporated. So Clank, the legacy Clank game.
I love
cool.
And
Clank.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I won the last game, so I'm doing well. I'm in
Nice.
high spirits.
That's
So
awesome.
it's a fun one. Good God.
High spirits, man. You're all over this. Check you out.
Yeah. But I've played my fair share of Clank. I've played my fair share of legacy games, but good God, the amount of like stickers that game has.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but it's fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Thomas Wilson, have you had a godfather? I don't know what a godfather is. I'm assuming
No,
he
must
doesn't
be
mean
some
an
sort of
actual
mixed drink.
godfather. Yeah.
I bet Thomas. Have I had a godfather? I don't think I'd be able to tell about that, but I think I'm sure it's some sort of cocktail. It's funny. I know my neat spirits, just straight up spirits. I don't drink that many cocktails. I of course drink them when I'm out, but when I'm just at home, I just drink stuff neat, usually bourbon or Scotch and amaretto. Ooh,
that actually sounds good because I like amaretto. So
yeah, that sounds really good.
I might need to try that.
Nice.
All right, Zach, take back over.
All right, two more. So we've all got them. They're those games that you have bought and they are sitting on your shelf and you have not played it yet. Of those, what are you most looking towards next? Like, what's like, this is my next one coming off.
I know that. I would run up and get it right now, but I won't. It's Tricerion. So I've been wanting to play Tricerion for so long. People actually have compared in early stages certain parts of the game to Tricerion. And I saw it, and I saw Knights Around the Table do the rules, and I was completely sold. Like it was, it looked really thematic. It's about your magician making tricks and stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, Tricerion. Very excited about that.
All right, and then last one. So let's say of every board game you've ever played, you've ranked all of them on Board Game Geek. Which would you have given your highest ranking?
It's probably the one I did give my highest ranking because I have ranked maybe not all my games, but a lot of them. I think it's probably going to be Gloomhaven.
Nice.
Ooh.
63 games worth of Gloomhaven. I love that game.
You played 63? Wow.
Hell yeah, man.
We got to catch up.
We got to catch up. We're at
30 behind
40?
you. Yeah.
So we finished. So when I first got it, when I backed it, I got my friends over, and we basically said like, I know I'm leaving for Scotland in August of 2019. We need to finish it. So that means we have to basically play almost every week. So we did almost. It was pretty religious, and it was fantastic. So now, of course, all I can think about is Frosthaven. I can't wait for that.
Oh, yeah. We backed it.
That's great.
Zach wants to keep playing Gloomhaven. I want to play Frosthaven because I love like the crafting mechanics that are in it.
How many characters did you retire in that process? Do you remember?
I think I retired. Oh wait, you do have to see this. Give me a second.
Okay.
Yep. Right.
I'm just thinking, how many retire? I've held on to my character the whole time.
I think
Austin,
one.
you've retired one character, but like my quest or whatever is like very like I can choose.
Hard.
I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not hard, but I could also like just avoid it. And so like I like my character so much that I'm like avoiding retiring him.
Bubba says they're at 35 and everyone has retired one character. Nice.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
So we retired everybody by the end because all four of us were playing, and so we were churning through. I think I probably retired 3 or 4. But what we did was I always said whoever was playing a character, they got to paint that character.
Cool.
And so then at the end, I photographed them all.
Ooh, love that.
Spoiler. No, I didn't do that, right?
Just show it.
Avert your eyes if you
don't want to know.
This far back. There you go.
That looks really good.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I set them all up in photo, and I gave one of these to each of the players, so they've all got this thing. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I love that game. It's so amazing.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, yeah.
I love it. I really enjoy it. Sam, one of the other owners of IV with Zach, he was playing and he retired a character that was like the very stealthy, like come up behind you and smack you in the back really hard.
That rogue, yeah.
And he got do you remember the character he's playing right now, Zach?
Nah, I don't.
It's just like plays totally differently and is extremely complicated of a character. And it was just like, oh man, this is such a hardship.
Yeah, pretty jarring.
But
I think he's liking it though.
I think he's grown to like it. Yeah.
I feel like everybody, at least for our group, everybody loved their first character was their favorite because that's what they really got to know.
Yep.
I know that was for me. I was a tinkerer and I just loved that character so much. No spoilers there, everyone. That comes with the start of the game. I can't wait for Frosthaven. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Yeah, we should just start over. I'm with you on Frosthaven now, so we'll just start fresh in Frosthaven.
Start fresh. Keep going.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm excited. We'll be back in the office and we just play after work on like one night every couple days.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
We'll shift back with our D&D campaign and our Frosthaven campaign like week to week. It's perfect. Everything's
good. There you go.
We'll do it. All right. Well, Dave, this has been a fantastic time chatting with you. Looking forward to hopefully meeting you in person in the next few months or year or whenever we get a chance to hang out and play your game. But yeah, thanks so much for being willing to come on the show and talk about it. And best of luck for the rest of your campaign. You really don't need it though. You crossed to 170,000 while we've been talking.
I wish you bad luck for the rest of your campaign.
No, that is not what I said. Although I do dislike him a little bit because his game prototype worked on the first try.
I know.
He doesn't have any haters in his
no haters.
Section. No haters. And I just don't understand how that's possible for either of them because our first time prototype sucked. But congratulations, Dave. Really, really pumped to continue watching your campaign and see it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This has been a blast. I can't wait. I was talking with these guys beforehand that after this is all done, I need to get down to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in Tennessee and sample some fine whiskeys down there. So I definitely will be seeing you sooner than later, I think.
Let's play board games when you come down.
That'll be fun.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
thanks,
congrats
guys.
again. And thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see ya. Everyone else, you can get a copy of Moonrakers Kickstarter edition. All you need to do is say something nice about Distilled in the comments. Talk about what you love most about it, what you're most excited about, something that you want added to the game, like a drink. We saw some of that from the comments section. So after the show is done, don't put it in the comment section right now of the chat. After the show is done, come back to the page, add your comment, and we will do a drawing for that on next week's episode of IV Games Weekly. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next week.